David Quadrelli, always a pleasure to have him on the show from Canucks Army, Canucks Conversation, and you had a lot to converse about yesterday, David. I want to start with the Sedins hiring, though. I know Ryan Johnson's the GM. We'll get into that. We'll get into summer plans, but I think it's interesting. Like in Toronto, they hire Matt Sundin, and there wasn't like pushback on it, but the fan base wasn't really viewing it as like, oh, wow, so much excitement that Matt Sundin is kind of back in the mix. It was kind of met with like a raised eyebrow of like, this guy hasn't worked around a professional hockey team in a really long time. What's the general vibe with the Sedins coming back in their role?
Awesome. Hope.
Okay.
First of all, thanks for having me, guys. That air fryer looked incredible, by the way. Glass air fryer, come on now. Okay, so the Sedins, right? The last time the Sedins were the face of the franchise, they were players, right? So now they're the face of the franchise once again, and there's a ton of hope because, like, gentlemen, I think the best way to sum up the Canucks dysfunction over the past, I don't know, give it 10 years, right? 5 years, whatever time frame you want to put on it, the best way to sum it up is that they haven't treated people the right way. Like, Tyler, I know right now the Oilers are taking some flack for, oh my goodness, you looked at Bruce Cassidy while you still have Chris Noble under contract. Yeah, how about doing that while the guy's on your bench in season? Because that's what this organization did to Bruce Boudreau, right? Like this is how they treat people, and it's been bad. It's been bad for a number of years. The players have been checked out of the community. That's a big thing that Daniel Sedin harped on yesterday, and I gotta say, even just for the media pool, and I know this was felt throughout the fan base as well, just hearing Daniel Sedin say, when we got here 26 years ago, Brian Burke told us that this is the number one organization for community outreach and community involvement. And Daniel Sedin said, we have to get back to being at the top of the league in that department. It's downright shameful how far away they've gotten from that over the past few years. Not even few years, past number of years, really since the Sedins retired. So it's awesome to have those guys back at the front of the organization. I think that's the general sentiment from fans.
Well, I think that's exciting too, right, Dave? Like when you think of the factor of like these are guys that like bled with the jerseys on, they've been with it all. And then on the other side of it, you have Ryan Johnson, who was a very similar player, right? He played with his heart on his sleeve and blocking shots and doing that. And then he kind of organically came into this. I listened to his press conference where it was a slow growth, right? Like he didn't know he was going to become the GM. He didn't get bumped to the front of the line. How much value does that bring to a fan base? Someone who's kind of paid their dues and been part of that organization as well.
Oh, like immensely. And I'd even throw it back to you, Carter. Like as a player, when I talk to players in Abbotsford, the number one thing I hear from them is I would run through a wall for RJ. And one thing that RJ did that people don't know a ton about, I'm sure out of market they don't know, Abbotsford's about an hour and a half, if you're unlucky, I guess, in traffic, drive from Vancouver. Okay. Horrible drive. People don't like doing that drive. He started a wall called the Highway 1 wall because the Trans-Canada Highway takes you right from Abbotsford to Vancouver, kind of. And he started a wall where he put a framed photo of every player that started in Abbotsford and got called up to Vancouver. Just played a game in Vancouver. If you played a game in Vancouver, a picture of you in a Canucks uniform, Vancouver Canucks uniform, was on that wall. And it was a reminder as the players walk in that, hey, this isn't your endpoint. We are playing to make each other better, and we're all playing to get to the next level. And I mean, as a fan base, you can feel that, right? When a guy commands that level of respect and has players at a point where they're the number one thing you hear is I would run through a wall for that guy, you feel that in the fan base as well. And I think RJ came across like that yesterday as well, because he even talked about how, look, when I'm talking to players, I'm not talking to them and saying like, I need you to do better so I look good, so that I succeed as a general manager. I have your best interests at heart. If you do what I'm suggesting here and we walk this path together, you will make it to where you want to go. And I think that just resonates throughout the fan base. And for a player, I'd imagine it's the exact same thing. You feel that when a guy is saying like, I want you to be the best you can be.
You know, it's funny you bring that up because you reflect on careers of guys that were, you know, average players like Ryan was and like I was. And you learn this skill set of being a facilitator, of being able to work a room and understand that, like, I think one thing that's going to be valuable and he's going to have a big task at hand is like not knowing you're not the smartest guy in the room, but having people around you that can build that trust and build a community. Now, when he brings that into Vancouver, what's priority number one? Like when he comes in there, right? You got some tricky contracts, you got some tricky players. Where does RJ start to get the Canucks back to where they need to be?
Well, when you asked him that question yesterday, he gave a great answer. It was, I'm going to call everybody basically and say, are you ready for this? Like, are you ready to come in September, and he wasn't just talking about one player. I know Elias Pettersson's getting a ton of attention, obviously, with this quote, but he wasn't talking about one player, wasn't talking about just the players. He was talking about himself. He was talking about his staff. He was talking about everybody. He's going to call everybody, and he's going to talk to them and say, like, everybody needs to come in and be the best that they can be in September. Are you ready for that? And yes, a big focus is on Elias Pettersson, whose preparation has been questioned a ton in the past, but that's priority number one, is get everybody pulling on the same rope again, get everybody excited to be a Canuck. And again, I know we focused on RJ's part of it, but for the Sedins, they were talking about, we want to make people proud to be Canucks fans again, like feel good about being Canucks fans. Because here's the thing, guys, when we talk about community outreach, it's, yeah, the team on the ice might suck. And yeah, you know what? Sometimes the players take a night off and don't give their best effort. But does it help you to know that they're also not involved in the community? Like that has to go away. Like that has to be over. That has to be over. So it's going to be a lot of that. It's going to be a lot of, we're going to ask a lot of you on the ice and off the ice. Are you ready for that? And that's how they're going to try to rebuild this culture, because and Carter, again, like I said, when you were a player, I'm sure you heard about the culture that the Canucks had out here when the Sedins were players. They're trying to rebuild that, and they know better than anybody what created that. And look, we had Max Lapierre, friend of the show, friend of the network here. We had Max Lapierre on our show, and he was a player during that era, and he said it started with management. Like, it starts with management, setting the standard. And when you hear that from a player, there wasn't a lot of standard setting from management over the last 10 years in this city. So to hear the Sedins, to hear RJ saying what they were saying yesterday about culture and less about player personnel and player decisions, and hey, they've got a big decision to make on Adam Foote here as the head coach, right? Not talking so much about those decisions, and instead talking about how we're going to set a standard, we're going to set a culture here, and whoever sticks out like a sore thumb because they're not buying into that, that's how we're going to make our decisions.
So that's an interesting way to kind of look at this offseason, because there's kind of two ways that it could go, obviously. The one is Ryan Johnson could come in and he's got the value of time on his side. He's got job security, you could say, right? Like, he can kind of go and be methodic with this stuff over the next 18 months. The other side of it is he could start digging around and go, oh my God, there's 8 or 9 guys here who I want no part of as we lay the framework for this next step the organization's taking. So which way do you think this is going to go? Is he going to come in and be slow and give people time, or do you think he comes in and it's like firing squad, like this guy gone, this guy gone, this guy gone?
It's interesting because they really don't have any players that they need to make a quick decision on. Most of those have been made, right? Like, if Connor Garland was still here and his no move clause was kicking in on July 1st, we'd all be talking about, oh my gosh, they have to figure out a way to trade Connor Garland. You can't give him full control of this situation. Something has to get done. That already got taken care of. Tyler Myers already got taken care of. They made their moves. They traded all their most of their pending UFAs. Those moves have been done. So now, like, you look at the Canucks' best trade assets, and this is something they talked about, is that there's not a ton right now in terms of draft capital and future assets. And you look at the top teams in the league, guys. Like, you need so much more than just a 3rd overall pick and your own picks in the future. And there's not a ton on this roster right now that they're going to be able to go get more future assets with. So how do you do that? You can sign some guys in free agency maybe and try and flip them at the deadline. You can get creative. You can take on bad money, although that's kind of going away with the cap going up. But you can get a bit creative, and they talked about that, how they're going to have to kind of leave no stone unturned. But when it comes to what the Canucks have that they could flip to get draft capital, Filip Hronek, that's their number one trade asset, right? And the last regime that was here, they sounded like they wanted to name him captain, which basically makes him an untouchable. And he's got a full no-move clause. But RJ was asked point blank about Hronek yesterday, and he said there's no untouchables on this team. And he said whatever we can do to make this rebuild go better, we are going to explore it. And he didn't say, yeah, we're trading Filip Hronek. But my broader point is he doesn't have to make that decision right away. Like, Filip Hronek's trade value is going to only go up. He's on a phenomenal contract for a really good right-handed defenseman in a NHL where there's fewer and fewer selling teams and more teams that are left holding their hat out on July 1 saying, wait, what do you mean Darren Radish is gone and now there's nobody else really left? Like, what do you mean that's the landscape we're looking at? We have to look elsewhere if we want to tangibly improve our team. So there's no rush. Like, I think that's kind of the thing that helps them in this situation is, yes, they want to set the culture quick. And Filip Hronek is not one of those guys that they're talking about when they say, if you're not going to buy into a culture, we're going to ship you off. It's not Filip Hronek that they're talking about. Filip Hronek's one of the guys that is helping to set that and was helping to set that down the stretch of the season. So I don't even think Canucks fans are really opposed to the idea of keeping Hronek around for a year, 2 years, maybe not 2 years, but keeping him around at least through this summer and just say like, hey, you were a really valuable resource for our young defensemen. Most of the Canucks' best prospects are defensemen right now. We want you around. We want you to be part of this. And if we need to do what's best for the team in a year, in 2 years, because we need more assets and we need more future assets, then we'll make that decision. But there's really no rush. And the same kind of goes for Jake DeBrusk as well. There's questions about if DeBrusk wants to be part of a rebuild or not, but nobody can really answer those questions at this juncture. I know everybody tries to. Jake's the only one that knows if he wants to be a part of this, and that's what they're going to figure out, right? So if Jake comes to them in the offseason when they have this conversation with him and say, are you ready to go? And he says, you know what? I'd rather be elsewhere. They'll have no problem finding another accommodation for him, right? Like there's no real rush where they're like, this is so toxic, we have to get this guy out. It seems like those kind of issues are kind of in the past now.
So the other one for me, just like quickly, like my last one would be, what goes on in net now? Like Demko's deal kicks in next year at 8.5. You have Lankin in at 4.5. Demko played 20 games last year. Like, what is the plan with that? I know your hands are a little bit tied because of his injury history, but it seems like that's kind of the elephant in the room, because when he is healthy and good, he's an X factor for the Canucks.
Yeah, so I think the Canucks need to sign I don't even want to call him a third string goalie. They need to sign a guy that can play a bunch of games in Abbotsford, but they also know won't get claimed on waivers, right? Like they need some sort of, I don't want to use the word journeyman, but they need someone that they know can kind of play at both levels and is going to clear waivers, because honestly, they can't risk losing Nikita Tolopilo on waivers, and he's their third goalie right now. So I've said for a while that the Canucks can't make the same decision that they did last year, where they traded Archer Shilovs for pennies on the dollar because, hey, we don't want to lose him on waivers. The guy just won a Calder Cup. He's going to get claimed on waivers. He absolutely was going to. But what they decided was, well, we're going to ride with Demko. We're going to ride with Lankinen. And sure enough, Demko got hurt. Like you said, 20 games last year. He's really confident that he's had this hip surgery and that everything's going to go away now. And it's all connected. Like there's some truth to what he's saying, right? But you can't confidently go into the season and say, oh, of course he's going to be fine. Of course he's not going to get injured. This team needs to carry 3 goalies out of camp. They have to. They have to carry 3 goalies on their roster out of camp. You can't lose Nikita Tolopilo on waivers. Kevin Lankinen's got a full no move. You can't send him down. You're not sending Thatcher Demko down. That's not even close to in the cards. It's going to be, you have to have 3 goalies on the roster to open the season. That's how they have to navigate the goaltending, and they're going to have to supplement some stuff in Abbotsford for sure.
Tristan Jarry's going to love making that drive between Abbotsford and Vancouver, Quads. He'll clear waivers. Come on, you take him off the Oilers' hands.
Well, you didn't take my deal, Tyler. I've been texting you Tristan Jarry trade offers, and you're saying they're all crap. I don't know. I think they're pretty good.
All right, Quads, as always, appreciate your time, man. Thanks for popping on.
Thanks, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Hey, hockey fans, if you enjoyed that video, then make sure you hit the subscribe button right here on the Daily Faceoff YouTube. We have you covered for everything you need. Exclusive interviews on The Sheet with Jeff Merrick, all the latest hockey news on Daily Faceoff Live, and you can always get your morning started with Johnny Lazarus and Colby Cohn on Morning Cup of Hockey. Don't miss a minute. Hit that subscribe button.